Welcome, everybody, to High Gluttony. I'm Gretchen,
And I'm Becca.
and today we are introducing our mac and cheese episode, modern mac and cheese recipe.
That's right. I forgot it had modern in it.
It's modern because, wait, I'll tell you why in a minute. We're going to get through the whole title of the actual recipe first. Okay. Modern baked mac and cheese with cheddar and Gruyere recipe from Serious Eat by Daniel Gritzer. Seems like that would be how it would be pronounced. This is a solid recipe that I found to be easy. How did you find it, Becca?
Agree. Pretty easy. I would say a world level 1 to 2.
I think the only thing that pushes it up into the world 2 range is the fact that you have an unusual ingredient that is really not hard to find. It's just unusual. I suppose we should tell you what that is. Sodium citrate.
Sodium citrate.
Yes. And
so this was new to me. This was totally new to me.
Okay, well, I don't want you to believe that I had some grand knowledge of this stuff. I mean, I found out about it this year or maybe last year.
Okay. You also learned about it recently.
Yes. This is a new thing for me. I bought mine on Amazon, so really easy. And then once you have it, you could make this mac and cheese all the time, just as long as you have 2 pounds of cheese around. That's all you really need. Well, I guess it's just and
just a casual 2 pounds of cheese.
Totally cashed. That said, though, I actually did this twice, once for Thanksgiving and then again with Becca a couple days later because I want to try it out before I did it, although that's not always an issue because we keep doing things that I've never done before. So it makes it really easy to make a cheese sauce. One of the main things to note, though, is that our sauce did not end up being as thick as the one in the pictures from the recipe. Right. Mine ended up being quite thin. Although because the macaroni does absorb a certain amount of the water out of the sauce, this might not be a drawback necessarily, but it does make it a little hard to get a good coating on all of the noodles before you put it in the oven, and kind of runs off the noodles a bit. So,
right. I guess we should back up real quick and say, so this is, you make a cheese sauce, you make your noodles, you mix those together, and then you bake it. And one of the fun things is that you top it with panko breadcrumbs, and we'll talk about that in a second. But what Gretchen is saying is that once you mix that sauce you've made with the sodium citrate, and it's water-based, and then cheese. In this case, we used cheddar and Gruyere, but I think it lists a ton of combinations, and I think almost any sort of shreddable cheese might work. But once you've made your sauce and you mix that with your cooked noodles, again, you pop that in the oven. And so Gretchen is saying that water that you've made with the sodium citrate and the cheese gets absorbed into the noodles as they're baking in the oven.
Thank you for being an excellent Gretchen translator, Becca.
Lots of practice. 10,000 hours. What's that? Malcolm Gladwell or something?
Oh, I have no idea. I'm not intellectual. Don't ask me questions like that.
Yeah, it didn't look like the pictures. That was kind of a slight disappointment. It obviously tasted amazing, but it did not look like that thick, creamy, cheesy sauce that I saw in the photo.
Now, if you go to the recipe on Serious Eats, you will find people that say that. And they got around that by either adding more cheese or starting with milk, which I would be curious to try. It's a flexible recipe. There were a couple people that said that their sauce broke, which I think we get into in the episode, but is when the fat starts to separate from the other parts of the cheese. And so then you get kind of an oily, greasy mess. And the first time I made it, I didn't have that problem. But the second time I made it, I did kind of run into that territory. just be aware of that, as this may be more finicky recipe than I'm thinking.
With anything, there is a potential to kind of overthink it, but it's really pretty straightforward, and just trying to find that combination of what sauce thickness you want. Again, fucking delicious mac and cheese.
Yeah.
Just not what I had envisioned of what it would be. So we want to set realistic expectations here for you. It's going to be amazing. If you want it to be thicker, maybe try milk, maybe try adding a little bit more cheese, something like that.
I just had a really good idea. When you go to add your Gruyere, add some sour cream too at the same time, which will add some body, but then you'll all get that nice sourness out of it. That could be something to try too. It's really,
that could be delicious. Yeah.
I really like that idea. I'm like, I'm going to go to the kitchen right now and make some just like that.
What do you think about a little bit of buttermilk?
That's a good idea too. We're starting with buttermilk. Yeah. See, lots of ideas. You can play with it.
Yeah.
Make it yours.
Now we have more things to try. Exactly. One of the coolest things we talked about was I don't know, maybe we'll have to do a whole episode on this alone, but we talk about panko breadcrumbs and how they're made. And it is so fascinating. And if you knew about this, that's amazing. If you didn't know about this, get ready to just
have your
surprised.
Socks
it's just really
off. Yeah. We're going to leave that as a surprise.
Yeah.
I'm not even going to tell you.
That's right.
We talk about it a lot.
Really fun.
So
yeah, we do. We're still excited about it.
We are. I'm like, my brain is broken.
I guess the one other comment I'd want to make on this is that the recipe says to cook it in the oven on the top rack. And I did that, and it ended up browning a little too quickly for me, and I moved it to the middle after about 10 minutes. But ultimately, I still think it ended up being too brown. And so I wish I had put some foil on it. Something to be mindful of, just keeping an eye on how much your breadcrumbs are browning.
And if they start to brown too quick, you could always cover it with tinfoil. And I'd really just slide it on top of the casserole and not fasten it on, just so that you're deflecting. Yeah, don't wrap it. You want it to be because you want steam to escape so your top stays crispy, but so that you can deflect some of the heat off the top if it's too brown. Something you can do as well. I did want to mention though that I used an immersion blender. My sauce basically had several inches of foam on the top. The first time I thought maybe I was using too shallow of a pan and whipping too much air in, but it did it the second time in a smaller pan, and I almost made a mess on my counter or on my stove. If you're using the immersion blender, be prepared for some foam. Otherwise, I think I might want to try whisking it by hand versus using the immersion blender and see if maybe my use of the immersion blender might have contributed to the sauce breaking a little bit that second time. Further research is required.
Got it. And I did use a whisk. We also questioned whether or not a whisk or the immersion blender was responsible for the thinness, but we both ended up with kind of the same consistency. Ultimately, we didn't think it made a huge difference in terms of the result, but it may, like Gretchen is saying, make a difference in whether or not your sauce breaks.
Just some things to consider. And plus, because of the way the sodium citrate works, it's actually super easy to whisk the cheese in. So don't be afraid to do it by hand, because it's not hard. It truly
it's one of the easiest.
It's so easy.
It does. It melts super quickly, and it's really one of the easiest, cheese sauces I've ever made. You don't have to do a roux. You don't have to melt anything first. You just have to shred a shitload of cheese, get some water boiling, and dissolve your sodium citrate. It's impressively smooth for the sauce side.
Smooth. Yeah.
It's impressively smooth. Let us know what you think. Let us know how your sauce turns out. Remember to follow us on Instagram at High Gluttony. Check out our YouTube. And we always have our recipe and our thoughts on the recipes on the website, which is highgluttony.com. So check us out in all those places. You can email us at highgluttony@highgluttony.com. Oh, have you checked the email in a while?
Nope. I was thinking that today. I don't know why. I am afraid to check that email.
I know. Nothing's going to be in there. Anyway, email us.
Email us. We promise to answer someday.
We'll look at it.
I promise. At some point I will do whatever I need to do. It just keeps logging out on my computer. It's not easy. And I deal with email all day long and I don't like doing it afterwards. So hey, if you guys give us money, because at some point we'll start a Patreon, probably not by the time this is up. We will be starting a Patreon, and you could give us money and we might be able to hire people to do these things for us. Just throwing it out there. If you're enjoying this, think about giving us some money.
Think about helping us figure out how to make some money from this podcast.
Thanks. Yay. Enjoy this episode about this really interesting mac and cheese. Happy cooking, everybody.
Jump on in.
Let's do this. So we are on our mac and cheese with our special ingredient. That would be sodium citrate. I don't know if you can see my beautiful board over here. It's very...
I can see it. I can't distinguish all of the letters. Well, kind of I can. It feels like an eye test. Let me see.
The computer adds distance, I think. So yes, we have lots of sodium citrate facts to go over. I did a fair amount of research on this, assisted by my dad. And I wrote out some recipe notes because after I started reading the comments, I don't know, it was like last night or 2 nights ago on the recipe. And like everybody was saying, oh, the sauce is thin and the sauce is thin. And I was like, yeah, my sauce was really thin, but I thought it was sort of supposed to be that way. So, and here I am jumping right into the middle where we're not supposed to go. What we're supposed to do is go over, okay, we're making mac and cheese, sodium citrate.
Yay!
More fun stuff to come about that later.
Right, because we're not just making mac and cheese. We're making the High Gluttony mac and cheese.
Right. Well, technically we're making serious eat mac and cheese.
Right.
On High Gluttony, which we will then add the High Gluttony elements to this in a little bit, but that'll come towards the end. We can discuss my alternate topping options and go, yes, I know. I've been thinking about this. I have some very good ideas for this whole situation.
I'm excited.
Let's start with the basics.
Okay.
This is going to go in a 9 by 13 inch baking dish. Your total cook time says 1 hour and 30 minutes. I'm going to say today, realistically, it's going to take us at least 2 hours, but
we'll let you know.
Very focused. You could probably do it in 1 hour and 30 minutes, but that's not me.
It takes a long time to grate this cheese.
Yeah. I do have mine grated as well because you said so much grating, and I was like, I guess that means I better grate mine now because she clearly has already done her. So you end up with 2 pounds of cheese in this, which I thought was like, you have 1 pound of uncooked pasta and 2 pounds of cheese. I was like, okay, this is a ratio I can get behind as far as cheese to pasta goes.
Seriously. I took a picture because the piles just seem astronomical. And I was like, we have to document how much shredded cheese this is. Oh my God.
So I did my Gruyere and then realized that it had sort of stacked up with the grater and like it was standing in a really cool way. So I took a picture of that. And then I was like, I bet if I grated all my cheddar at once in box grater and then took it off, it'd be kick ass. Well, I only got through 1 pound and then it was stuck inside the grater because it was too much cheese.
Too much.
So I don't recommend doing that. That's not a good idea because then you end up with kind of like clumps of cheese again. I had to like basically like re-separate the cheese again. And then the half a pound I separately.
I have a question about the baking dish, which is that I have a glass one or a metal one or whatever. I think in the picture on the recipe, it was a ceramic dish, and will it make a difference if I put it in one or the other of those pans? I feel like the glass might make a difference.
The glass. So yes. So here comes my thought process on metal versus glass. So we can get into this a little bit right now. So I think on an maybe it was the last episode where we were making the Buckeyes, and I was talking about how we were doing the chocolate, and that I kind of liked the glass bowl. Like, was it that episode or was it the episode before that? Glass. Oh, it was
At some point.
Potatoes. We definitely talked about it. Like, we used a glass bowl because the glass bowl is going to hold heat longer than a thinner metal. So it's like, it's basically the same thought, but you're talking about heating something up versus like just keeping something warm. So your metal pan's going to heat up more. So you might end up with maybe some crispy edges around the outside. So I'm not going to say it's a bad thing or undesirable. I think most people would make this in a glass dish or ceramic or something like that. But I don't know that you have to follow that really.
What are you using?
I have a Pyrex, but I'm using my Pyrex. So
glass. Okay. Okay. Thank you for that lesson.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Glass it is.
As I said, don't know that for sure. I've actually only ever made macaroni and cheese, I think, in glass dishes. I've never tried to make it in a metal one.
It kind of makes me want to try it, but also I think I'll just do glass.
I know. All right. I was going to say, so I have a bone to pick with this recipe too, but we'll get there in a minute. We're going to talk
about
our ingredients.
Thank you. Sorry, I off tracked this.
I don't think it really was off track because we were just kind of commenting on the cheese and stuff. So I think we're okay.
Okay. Moving on.
So here are our ingredients. The list starts with kosher salt, 1 pound of elbow macaroni, 5 tablespoons of unsalted butter divided, 4 teaspoons of sodium citrate, 1.5 pounds of grated sharp cheddar cheese, 1 teaspoon of hot sauce, but they say such as Frank's Red Hot, which I think most people are familiar with, a half a teaspoon of mustard powder. So that's a half a teaspoon of mustard powder, because I think it sounded a bit like I said 1.5 teaspoons of mustard powder before. A quarter teaspoon of garlic powder, a half pound of grated Gruyere, and finish off 1 cup of panko breadcrumbs. They also have gram measurements and ounce measurements if you want those things, but that's pretty much, I don't know.
That pretty much covers it.
So as far as method goes, you want your oven at 400 degrees and you're going to cook your pasta, right? The details in the recipe are more descriptive. I'm going to link to it in the blog post about this episode. Now you're going to undercook your pasta. This is important because you're going to bake it later. It needs to be not quite done. So you want it really al dente, or to the teeth or something like that. And then drain and then put in a large mixing bowl and toss with 2 tablespoons of butter until the butter is melted and the noodles are coated. The first time I did this, I actually used more butter than that because I was like, I don't feel like my noodles are adequately covered. Now, I did use a different shaped pasta than a traditional macaroni noodle, which I'm using today, since this is our real run through, and that was my fancy Thanksgiving run through. You can call it running through Thanksgiving and run through.
Yeah, a marathon sprint.
Mm-hmm. So we'll see if two tablespoons maybe works better for macaroni versus the pasta I used before. But I don't feel like that's really going to make that big of a difference. But I don't know.
Sure. So then did you only use the other 3 tablespoons later?
Yes.
Or did you add more? Okay. So actually, just a little more in the beginning.
Thanksgiving. So let's get a little bit into what I did on Thanksgiving while our pasta cooks. So I had sworn that I had panko breadcrumbs here.
Okay.
I go to locate them on Thanksgiving. I cannot, for the life of me, find them. And like, I can barely picture exactly like the container they're in and the bag that they came in that's in the container. I'm like, I know I have this. And I spend ages looking for them. Cannot find them. So luckily, I'd gotten like a Sunbasket meal a week or so ago that came with some like fried shallots on top instead of the panko breadcrumbs.
Good idea.
Yeah. So I do want to make a batch of this at some point with by making fried shallots and then putting those as the topping, or make a mix of fried shallot.
That sounds really good.
Yeah, it was very tasty. And then the next day I ordered more panko. And then guess what? Today, I find the other panko breadcrumbs. Of course. We were just talking about this on the last episode too, where we like can't find something. And so you buy 2 of it and then you find 4. Right. Well, I guess the good news is that when I smelled the breadcrumbs, they were pretty old. So I was like, okay, not that disappointing. So then I did end up making the panko for the second night when I took it to a work thing. And that was
You did the breadcrumbs.
Yeah. So the breadcrumbs are really good. That's what I'm doing this time. And then I am going to put shaved black truffles over the top.
Yeah, you are.
Bought a black truffle for Thanksgiving. So now I got to use it for stuff.
Yeah, now you have to use it. I have two questions. One is, how long are you cooking your pasta? My instructions say 5 minutes total. So I guess I'm only doing it for 3.
So this is part of one of my big, you got to undercook your pasta and use your mouth to figure it out. So I would say yes, at 3 minutes. I didn't even read the back of my bag. Hold on, I bought 2 bags because I thought I was going to double this. And then I realized that no, I no longer need to be doubling things. This says 6 minutes. So yeah, after about 3 minutes, I would start tasting it to see what it feels like.
Okay, 3 minutes. Okay, pasta's in. And then my second question is, what is the difference between panko breadcrumbs and other regular breadcrumbs?
So regular breadcrumbs are, sorry, I'm just looking at these. I really don't know. It has to do with how they're created.
Okay, because panko's Japanese style?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I wish I had a better answer than that. So hold on a second.
Okay.
Well, I guess we're going to the Wikipedia thing about it.
I love Wikipedia. I try to donate to them every year.
I did this year for the first time because I was like, I got to stop using this if I'm not donating. So
they're like, we only have like 50 employees. And I'm like, what? How?
Oh, this is fascinating. So panko is made from bread baked by electrical current, which yields a bread without a crust, and then grinding the bread into fine slivers of crumbs. It has a crisper, airier texture than most types of breading found in Western cuisine and resists absorbing oil and grease when fried, resulting in a lighter coating.
An electric coil?
Electric current.
Oh, current.
Yeah.
Right. Coil's not that weird. I don't understand. Just stick it in there?
Hang on a second.
All right. I've got 30 seconds left before I got to start tasting.
Okay. Then I will taste it the same. Panko, the electric breadcrumb. This unique method, this comes from Upper Crust Enterprises Incorporated. So this unique method was developed during World War II when Japan was fighting Russia out of necessity to cook bread without heated ovens. How does this even work?
I keep picturing that Bob's Burgers, the Topsy one, where Louise gets, she like electrocutes Tina.
I mean, okay, hang on. I think there might be a YouTube video.
Okay, great. I think my noodles are almost done.
Really, really ready to dive down a whole hole. Yeah, I think mine's basically ready as well.
Okay.
Dude, the oven is 86 feet long.
Feet?
86 feet. So it is kind of like an oven. Oh, this music is amazing. You're going to have to watch this video at some point.
Okay, send me the link. I've rinsed my macaroni.
Okay.
And I'm now mixing with 2 tablespoons of butter.
Sorry, I got all distracted by watching the crazy panko oven thing.
No, totally. We'll have to come back to that.
Yeah.
I was just like, my noodles.
Yeah. I neglected my noodles. I'm trying not to make 8 million dishes again today, so I just put mine back in my pot. And now I'm going to toss it with my butter.
Got it. What noodles did you use for Thanksgiving?
I use these cute little things. I'm going to say Pipe Regate, maybe.
Cool.
Yeah. So they're basically like a little shell. Like I was like, it's not too far off the macaroni there.
Spectrum. Yeah.
Yeah, it's on the macaroni spectrum.
Just like a significantly bigger hole.
And it made amazing mac and cheese. So next, okay, tossing.
Okay.
Butter.
Well, so did you end up doing? Are you doing 2 tablespoons, or do you think you'll need more for this time?
I could do more, but they also seem to be decently coated. So yeah, they have a nice light buttery sheen to them.
Perfect.
I'm gonna go with it.
Okay. And then we set that aside.
Oh, I like how I actually looked at the recipe, thought I set the oven to 400 and ended up only setting it. Oh, no. our next step, which I guess we should read because I think we only really read the first step, which got us through coating the pasta. In a large saucepan, bring 3 cups of water to a simmer. Whisk in your sodium citrate until fully dissolved. While maintaining a gentle simmer, add cheddar cheese in small increments using an immersion blender to incorporate it completely into the sauce before the next addition. When all the cheese is added and the sauce is smooth and glossy, blend in the hot sauce, mustard powder, garlic powder, season with salt if necessary. So here's my gripe with this recipe. I read the article that's associated with it as well. Okay, so in here, it very clearly says to use an immersion blender. On the fucking article that goes with this recipe, the pictures clearly show them using a whisk. No immersion blender in sight. They say whisk or immersion blender. So the one thing that I did find using the immersion blender, and this is what a lot of people said, is that the sauce was thin. And so I, who had not read the article before I made the recipe the other day, just assumed it was supposed to be thin because it's being absorbed by the pasta. But the pictures in the article are clearly of like a thick, gooey sauce. So I'm not sure how to handle that because mine definitely was a thinner sauce than advertised. So I'm going to be really interested to see how this run through goes because I'm also wondering if I ended up not putting as much cheese in or what other things might have gone in there. Now, I don't know. That doesn't sound like me to not put in
some other factor.
Yeah, more than enough cheese because other people were like, we added a ton more cheese and to get it to the right consistency. Someone did point out maybe they were using, if you use pre-shredded cheese, they do put something on the cheese usually to keep it from caking. So there is a possibility of that interacting. One thing that I did the first run around that may have factored in was that I used the same pot that I cooked my pasta in and I didn't wash it. I just didn't think it was relevant. But it also ended up with the water being too low. So when I was using the immersion blender, basically I couldn't really see the sauce as well because it made a lot of foam. So there was a whole foam over the top of it. So, we'll see if it goes the same today. But that was my first run through had those. So I have those notes from that run through.
I feel like I'd rather do a whisk. If the article says either or, I think I'd prefer to do a whisk.
And see, and now because I'm wondering if doing it that way ends up with that thicker sauce. And if you're using an immersion blender, if that's not as good, doesn't work as well. So,
right.
And other people were saying that they were having issues with the sauce splitting. I didn't have that problem the first run through. So it was just thin. But then it was really great once it was baked. It you wouldn't have known the sauce was thin when you baked it. So I don't know. And yeah,
but it wasn't exactly what the picture prompted.
Well, the good news is I didn't see the picture before I did it. So I didn't know it was supposed to they were advertising thick sauce. So I wasn't disappointed. I was just oh, this is interesting. I wouldn't have thought it'd be so thin, but hey, it's thin. All right.
Who knew?
So yeah, I don't know. I had no expectation. Really.
All right. Well, I'm going to try with.
Okay. I think I'm going to stick with the immersion blender because I want to see if number one, smaller pan where I'm hopefully not getting a whole layer of foam on the top makes a difference, or so yeah, I was tempted to do a whisk as well, but I just because I want to see what happens, I'm gonna go with the immersion blender again, just because I've done it that way once, and so I feel like I need to do it. I need to repeat the experiment.
Yeah. All right, so 3 cups of water.
Yeah, 3 cups of water.
I've been doing Ring Fit again.
Oh my God. No, I actually talked to you about, I finished the main quest in the DLC of Zelda. And you get a motorcycle and it's so fucking cool.
Fun.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I've been really enjoying the Ring Fit, and it's interesting because this new extended version of the world that you get to after you beat the first set of worlds, I guess. They're still giving you things, there are new ingredients that are coming up, new stones that are coming up. I'm this is awesome. I love it.
Super cool.
Mm-hmm. No, so
I forgot how rewarding it can be to play.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. I was thinking, I was I really need you to get back into it so we could talk about it.
I know. It's so funny because the other day I said to James, Gretchen finished Ring Fit. And like, we've had it as long as she has pretty much. And she's finished it. And we both stopped like in March. And I was like, oh my God. Like, we could have been exercising for like 9 fucking months. And I was doing yoga those days, but like nothing like cardio or like,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I was sweating during yoga, but not in the same way.
It's the same. I just really like, I think I got through it a lot faster because I turned on the knee assist though too.
Mm.
And so like not having to do all the running really helped me.
Totally.
But yeah, I was really excited when I finished the Zelda DLC because I was like, I wonder what you get, because it's kind of like a really interesting, like you get to elevate all your Sheikah like sensor, those things, you know, like
your like tablet thing.
Yeah.
Cool.
And Nifty's Grace and all those things, those like, what do you call those tools you use?
Yeah.
I do have just to get back to the macaroni and cheese before we this like total rabbit hole of
Zelda.
I'm working on heating up my water to add my sodium citrate to.
Same.
Just to get back to so that
what we're actually doing.
Making sure that you are also on the same spot where I'm like, I want to make sure we're at least moving forward with the recipe.
Totally.
But yeah, I really like the quests in the DLC pack for Zelda. It was very cool. And it took me a long time to get through those because I've been doing this podcast, so I haven't had as much time to play video games.
I hear you. Like, where did all my time go?
I know. No, it went to podcast. That's where it went. I know.
Yeah.
And so yeah, now so I'm about to go in and finally, because I started a new Zelda game so that I could start from the beginning. And so I haven't defeated Ganon yet in that one. And so I'm about to go do the end all fight.
The big one.
The big one.
The boss.
But yeah.
1 second. Do you have another console or just the Switch?
Just the Switch, because I was actually going to ask you, because I know that game that you like, Persona 5.
Yeah, I was just looking it up. I was like, just a second. I looked up to see if it was on Switch, and then I was like, do you have anything else?
No.
It might be on Switch soon though, but it's my most favorite game to play.
Yeah, I'm sort of course, that like last night I was looking, and 2 nights ago I was looking at different games. I was like, when do you think you're gonna have time like to play another video game? Like you don't even play the one now.
That's true. That's true. We're just saying we don't have time. I'm like, do you want a new video game? Do you want to buy a whole new console to play one video game?
I'm definitely not doing that. Yeah, I was wondering. So what do you play that on?
A PlayStation 4.
Okay. I mean, because I could always just get a refurbished one if I really felt like it. But
that's true. My water is still simmering.
Okay, mine's boiling. I'm going to take the temperature down, and I just put my sodium citrate in and whisked it. But I've decided just to put the immersion blender in there to whisk it until it's dissolved. Because if I'm going to use blender, I'm going to use the immersion blender. And now I'm hoping that this will fit in this pot. All right, here I go. I'm adding my cheese.
All right. Well, the first of 1.5 pounds of cheese going in.
Oh, I'm still getting a lot of foam.
Okay.
Turn it up a little bit. I've got 1 pound in here now. I'm going to turn my heat down a little bit. Yeah, I've got a ton of foam on the top of mine. I can't even see this up again.
So same thing.
Same thing as was happening before. So clearly having a dirty pot was not necessarily the cause of that little problem.
Mm-hmm. Did you just add like a handful at a time of the cheese?
Very, very slowly. And I think I really like this fucking foam. I can't see what I'm doing.
That's so frustrating. Fucking frustrating foam.
And I can't I'm like, how full is this? Is it all foam? Is it mostly foam? Is it not at all foam? I don't know what's happening.
Right. Yeah, it feels like at this point in the recipe, since it's happened to you twice, they should say like, expect foam. sauce may be thin, or some sort of expectation setting language.
So you're still waiting for boiling? Or no?
I'm still waiting. I should have started mine earlier, but the electric takes so long and I don't want to overheat it and then not be able to cool it back down.
I'll be interested to see how you're doing it with the whisk goes versus my blender. Because I do almost feel like I prefer to use a whisk,
Yeah. I mean, that makes sense.
especially when there's so much foam on the top here. I have no idea what's really happening. And I'm sort of like crumbling my cheese too when I'm adding it. Now my thumb's giving me problems. It doesn't want to hold that button that long. All right, I'm getting
Oh, I bet.
so maybe I didn't have enough cheese the last time. My sauce looks thicker this time.
Okay.
And I'm almost done adding my cheese.
Okay.
And I'm throwing water and cheese sauce all over my stove. Awesome. It's still quite thin.
So thicker than when you made it for Thanksgiving, but thin still.
Still very thin. Yeah, still thinner than their photo representation. Definitely getting a lot more cheese sauce stove this time too.
Because the smaller pan.
Yeah. I need this for a while, but I haven't really been able to justify it. I was like, I need something between my large pot and this little soft pot that I use. I need something in between, but I don't really have anything in between there. So, and my hot sauce. I'm gonna go ahead and turn off my heat, and I'm gonna add a little more hot sauce than they call for.
What kind of hot sauce are you using?
I have Crystal. That's my preferred one.
Go to.
My go-to. I need a half of mustard, half teaspoon of mustard, and a quarter of. Okay, yeah, still pretty thin. All right, now I'm gonna add to my noodles. I think I'm seeing some of what maybe some people were calling the sauce being split. That's not.
And that means like your cheese is separating from your water or something?
Yeah. So I'm wondering, now I'm just whisking it a little bit because I'm thinking maybe my cheese isn't really as fully incorporated as I thought. So I'm going to give it because mine, it doesn't necessarily look split. I'm just wondering, I'm going to tell you a story about cooking school. So I was dating this guy that I worked with, and we were both in culinary school. I think must have been in the bachelor's program at the time. And he was making aioli, which is a pretty basic thing. Like one of the first things you learn how to do in culinary school is making an aioli.
Do you use mayonnaise or do you make your own everything from scratch?
From scratch. So using egg yolks with like a little bit of mustard and some acid, whatever type of acid you want, lemon juice. Anyway, so he starts making this aioli, and I see him start it, and then I back by a little bit later, and he's still working on the same aioli, but he's adding more and more egg yolk. And I'm like, what are you doing?
Oh, okay.
He's like, didn't work. And I was like, I look at it, and it actually wasn't. It wasn't even done. And he just started adding more and more egg yolks. But here's the thing about how you do that, and why this is sort of relevant to what we're doing, because egg yolks work as an emulsifier. And the sodium citrate in this acts as an emulsifier. It's emulsifying your cheese into the water. So that's what's going on there.
Okay.
And so basically what you have to do with an aioli, if you have a broken aioli, you need to take the aioli, and he was making it in a food processor. So it's usually you make it with a whisk if you're just making a little bit, but you can do a food processor. So now he's added so many egg yolks. We ended up using because you need like 1 egg yolk to 1 cup of oil. And so he had like 12 egg yolks in there. And I was like, you're gonna have to add more oil. Also, you're doing this wrong. So start with like 2 new egg yolks, and then you have to slowly add in the broken part, because otherwise it doesn't. Actually, maybe we didn't have to dump it out. I just said, no, stop what you're doing. Like, add more oil. It's broken. Start done. And he had put so many egg yolks in there, it ended up being like this huge batch of aioli. Like, we had it for like weeks.
Oh my God. 12 cups of olive oil to make up for the egg yolks.
For how many egg yolks he put in. I'm just like, what are you doing?
Oh man.
All right. So I've gone now. I've added my pasta to my sauce.
Okay.
And I mean, it does look a little thin, like it's sort of thin, but it looks good. I mean, like it's nice and cheesy.
Mm.
Good.
That's all that matters.
Yeah. So I'm just wondering if maybe some people hadn't mixed theirs well enough. And so they thought it was broken, but it wasn't.
Do you think it was necessary for you to finish it with a whisk?
Maybe.
Maybe.
Oh, no. I forgot to add my Gruyere.
Oops. I guess we have to talk through the next step.
Yeah.
My water still hasn't totally simmered.
All right. So after you simmer and then you stir in your sodium citrate, all I'm doing now is sprinkling the Gruyere over the top and then folding it in to the cheese. So it'll be in there. It just may not quite be as uniform as I would have maybe wanted, but not a problem.
That's kind of nice. I love a pop of Gruyere.
And that's sort of why they didn't add it into the sauce itself, is they wanted to have that like intact, stringy, like these bites of little stringy cheese in there, which I do have. They nailed that part of it.
That's great.
So yeah, once you blend in your sauce in, adding your cheese in small additions, you take it off the heat, add it to the noodles, and then the proper way to do it is add the Gruyere first, then put it out in your pan. And then that's basically you're almost ready to go in the oven at this point. But we're going to wait. I'm going to walk Becca through until she catches up.
Add the ketchup.
Not everybody can have the power of oil like me.
No, it's true.
This is really good. Yum, 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 yum.
Okay, I'm adding my sodium citrate.
Yay. And so you're whisking. You're gonna whisk your cheese in. Okay, I see here. Yep, you're starting.
Yep.
I'm commenting on what you're doing.
Yeah, let everybody know for me.
Yeah. So Becca's adding her first handful of cheese.
Yay! Finally.
I just comment on every handful that you put in and do this for like the next 5 minutes.
Yeah, because there's so much cheese.
So much cheese.
All right. What else can you tell me about sodium citrate?
I'm so glad you asked, Becca, because I was just about to start telling you all the random facts I have for you about sodium citrate. All right.
Yay!
Hey, random fact. Often referred to as sour salt, and that's because it is one of the salts that is in citric acid. There's a relationship there. But when it's a very common additive for food. It works as a stabilizer, so sort of similar to our emulsifying effect we're getting from that we're doing here in the mac and cheese, and is a pH buffer for a wide range of foods. I'm gonna have to do a little more research on pH buffers. I'm not exactly sure, unless my dad's paying attention and wants to chime in. pH buffer? Okay. It basically holds the acidity where it is. So that's what.
Because like the cheese is really acidic or something.
Well, yeah, it works with the lactic acid in the cheese, and
okay.
I didn't get far down into the chemistry on this.
Sure.
It's also found in club soda. So my new working theory is that's why they tell you because it's the way it works. It might help clean things, so that's why everybody tells you put club soda on stuff.
Oh,
This
cool.
Weird assumption that has no basis in fact whatsoever. And so as I mentioned, in this recipe, it acts as an emulsifier. And because I've just made a buttload of caramel the other day, I wish I would have known this. If you add it to caramel, it helps prevent the sucrose from crystallizing.
Oh.
Yeah. So those are my weird random facts about sodium citrate.
Cool. I think I saw that it's in American cheese, or you put that in the notes.
I did. Yeah. It's because we could go down the whole thing of, well, American cheese isn't really cheese, but maybe we won't go there.
Right.
But like American cheese melts so easily and is so smooth and is clearly, a superior cheese product for some applications. So.
Mm-hmm. And that's because of sodium citrate.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, you managed to take your pile down quite quick. So is it thin? Is it thick?
Mine's also very thin. No, it's thin. I do have a little bit of foam on top, but nothing, probably like I can still see everything, but it's pretty thin. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that, that a large part of that is because you're putting it in with the pasta that is not fully cooked. So that little bit of extra moisture going into the cheese or into the pasta. And so that you don't necessarily need it to be as thick as the pictures on the article. I mean, that looks better.
Okay.
I think, this turned out so well that I can't imagine that. Kind of ran out of topping. Having to sort of.
It turned out so well.
Yeah, I mean, it was like it doesn't need to be thick, but yeah, some people were talking about how they prefer a bechamel base, which is the sort of generally accepted way to do it. This would be a relatively, well, they called it a modern baked mac and cheese. So I guess that's because they're using some sort of chemical to do what the bechamel sauce does. Do you know about that?
Can you please talk to me about it?
Hold on, I'm gonna go find a chair. I'm tired of standing. Cheese is ready to go in the oven, so I'm gonna sit. Anyway, so bechamel sauce is usually what you do is you make a roux. So that's a mixture of butter and flour that you cook into like a paste. With most bechamels, those are milk based. So I did see other people were doing this with milk versus doing it with water, which I just don't, it's like, I don't know. I'll have to try that variant as well at some point. But I mean, this turned out so great the first time. I'm like, I don't know that I really want to fuck with it. Good recipe.
That's a lot of dairy too.
Yeah. A lot of dairy. To me, it's very heavy. Yeah. But yeah, so like the guy, Daniel, that wrote the article, he was saying that he actually prefers the bechamel type. And I was like, why? Like, you've got to make a roux, which is, things are hard. Whereas I think this recipe is a world level 2 only because you have to find this like weird ingredient. So it's not really that hard to find.
Mine's actually thickening up a lot now that I'm adding the Gruyere.
Yeah. And now you got to put it in pan.
All right.
You've added it to your macaroni. That's what it looks like.
Yeah. All mixed in. The Gruyere's in. Oh my God. This looks so good. Did you add any extra salt? I don't think I need to.
No, I have not. It does say to put it on the top. So I was just going to sprinkle over the top before I put it in the oven.
I don't have my butter melted.
Oh, did it say butter was supposed to be melted?
Okay. Well, let me talk through step 4. Add panko to a small mixing bowl, melt remaining 3 tablespoons butter, then add 2 panko, mix until evenly coated, season with salt, scatter over the top, put on the bottom of your oven, the top rack of your oven until browned and bubbling.
I just did softened butter and mixed it with my panko.
Okay.
Because I did not read that part. But topping looked really nice on the last time. So I don't know.
I think I'll melt mine just for...
to see what happens.
Convenience. Yeah, it's pretty softened, so it's not going to take that long. But
yeah, I don't think it really needs much more salt.
I agree. The cheese is so salty.
Yeah,
it's so good.
I know, it's really good. I think this is a great recipe, and I think it's relatively easy. Now let's see if I think I've talked all through the ideas that I've wanted to hit so far.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Just mixing my butter and my breadcrumbs.
From this angle, you can see how much of a mess I made of my stove. Cheese, mac and cheese.
I keep thinking about how panko is made with an electric current.
I know. Like, somebody needs to show me a video of that.
Yeah, we got to do some more research. Maybe we have to do a episode on panko. Okay, I think I'm finally ready to go in the oven. Okay. 45 minutes.
All right, 45 minutes, and we go.
On the top rack. I gotta move my rack. Right. Okay. Timer set. Okay, let's take a quick break.
I'm gonna keep looking for panko.
Okay, cool. All right, I'll see you in a second. Hi.
Hi. All right.
I also smoked. I don't know if you need to or not.
Oh, my dad left, so I know I really can.
Okay, good.
Need to, no, but can.
Right, but want to?
Very interesting video of a guy that's thoroughly explaining how to bake bread with the electrical current.
Oh, cool. So how do you do it?
Well, he was just showing that I guess there's like a myth out there that it was originally developed by people trying to cook bread using in the tanks during World War II. So now I can stumble down this little scientific path that I found. So it's not that you cook the bread with the electricity, you use the electrical resistance in the bread. I've not done with the video. It's like 20 minutes. So.
Okay.
But so far, he was doing a direct current, which is how a tank battery would work, and basically proved that if you're trying to do that, you end up with horrifically like dark brown bread on one side it's not burnt, but it's like not tasty, and then the other side ends up green for some reason. He was like, so clearly you can say that was definitely not how that came around. Yeah,
not the origin story.
It's alternating current for as much as I know about electricity. So,
right.
But yes, he was actually just getting set up to do a test on it. He's not turned it on yet.
Okay.
Oh, he's gonna let it sit in there for an hour, and then he's gonna cook it at 30. Started cooking it at 30 volts. Proofed it. I'm just gonna do commentary for you.
Yeah.
Oh, come on, guy. Let's go.
Yeah.
Oh, he's got one of these fancy thermometers. So anyway, if you want to watch this later, you get the idea.
Yeah.
He's saying it was a good first attempt, but not quite. He hasn't made panko bread yet. So
got it. I want to see just what a panko loaf looks like then before it's crumbed up.
Hang on. That I did see. That was on one of the ones that I was checking earlier. On here, they're done on like these huge wheels, basically. Anyway, you can Google it.
I might have to move my rack a little lower. The top of mine is already starting to get pretty brown.
Oh, then yes, probably.
Yeah. Okay.
Because mine's been in there 15 minutes.
Yeah, about 15.
Mine's already browning too.
Oh.
It's I'm about to have a mess. Oh no. And it's not gonna be 100% effective, but should at least sort of help. Yeah, mine looks like it's about to go out of the pan. But it is starting to brown on top too. So
I moved mine to the middle rack because I don't know. I might even almost have to put foil on it. I don't want to. It's so crispy already.
That brown already?
Yeah. I'll take a picture.
Because yeah, mine's starting to brown a little bit, but I can hear yours.
I know it's sizzling.
Oh yeah. Well, just keep an eye on it. I think it'll be okay.
Yeah. Okay. I'm like Great British Baking. Just sit in front of it.
Right. Oh, we have 6 minutes. Wow.
How are your hands after all the shredding?
My hands are having a bit of a hard time right now anyway, but they're okay. Shredding's not too bad for them. Right now it's more gripping and that I'm having trouble with.
Thinking about you when I was doing it.
I wish there were things that were, I'm dumb. I do. I have a blade that goes in my food processor that shreds cheese, and I should have been doing that.
I was going to ask you if you could do it in a food processor. And then I was just like, well, I'll just ask her later.
Yes.
Yeah. I can.
We could have. Yeah, we definitely could have done that. Oh my God, this is so beautiful. Oh, Pod, did you get trapped on the wrong side of the fence, buddy?
Oh, no.
He looks a little sad, but not so. He didn't come running over as soon as he saw me, so he thought it.
Yeah, he's not that upset.
He's a pretty go with the flow rabbit.
Okay, 3 minutes. And then we have to let it cool for 15.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now I've got a little bit of fat separation on this batch. I'll take some pictures of that when I get it out of the oven.
Okay.
I also did a very naughty thing where I kept the oven open and then took a video of my food with the oven door open.
You mean naughty for the oven temp?
Yeah. Luckily for something like this, not really going to affect it that much. Once it gets up there, actually, maybe I should pull it out now if it's starting to separate.
I think I might pull mine too, just because the top's so brown. I mean, it's not burnt, but I don't really think I need to push it.
Fully bubbling like through the whole thing, right?
Oh my God, yeah, it's been like that for a while.
Then yeah, I think you're good. So,
okay.
But I mean, some oil separation's probably not completely unexpected in this situation.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, there you go.
There you go. James and I are like nervous we're not going to be able to like not eat the whole thing. I mean, we won't, but like we're both like, oh my God, we have to really be careful.
Yeah. You mean like in one sitting, right?
Yeah. In one sitting tonight.
That's understandable.
Yeah.
Let's say it serves 8 people. So maybe you just want to be like, this is for 8 people.
Let's not eat more than half.
If you eat enough for 4 people, that's fine.
That's perfect. There's protein. Actually, I haven't eaten today. Not a good thing, but this is my only meal.
Oh, then you can totally eat a half a pound of this and no problem.
Totally.
Says the terrible influence.
Mine looks amazing. How long did that take us? 2 hours and 15 minutes? But we took some breaks.
Yeah, and meandered off the path a bit. So
yeah, per usual.
Per the usual. I'm getting my truffle out.
Oh yeah. Oh, you talked about alternate toppings. Was that just the fried shallots, or were there other ideas you had?
Well, so then I also have shredding a little black truffle onto it.
Mm-hmm.
Bacon or macon topping. The macon on top of this and bake it in the oven. I was like, there was something I was going to put on like a third of this to see what it would be like, and I forgot. So, like,
oh, that would be good.
So, like, if you did some like chopped up.
I was wondering how it would be if you put like some thinly sliced tomatoes on right at the very end.
Oh, I like that. I like that idea.
I don't know if it would mess up the breadcrumbs, but I just imagine that flavor would be really good with a little bit of tomato.
Like you could also just, really anything, because with this, supposedly you can basically use any cheese to make this cheese sauce. I was going to say, has it been 15 minutes? Can I scoop out a scoop yet?
It's only been 5 on my side.
Damn it. It's only been 5 for me too.
I thought so, but I wasn't sure.
You could do even like a blue cheese pasta bake with like walnuts and sliced grapes on top or something, very
buffalo sauce.
Buffalo sauce, yeah. I mean, like
lots of it.
Anything. Cut up some peppers and put them on top. Olives. I mean, come on. You could kind of do a carbonara style bake too. Some people were saying that they didn't have quite the same success with other types of cheese. So who knows?
Who knows? Well, I love sharp cheddar and Gruyere, so I didn't even want to consider switching them out for something else.
I might want to try some Gouda at some point, but so I think my batch this time did separate a little bit more. I'll be interested to see what yours looks like. My first version was much more successful, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know. I only tasted a single noodle, so not haven't sat for 15 minutes yet. Well, should we call it good and
take some pictures?
Take some pictures and go eat ourselves. Yes, I did just taste it, so
okay.
It's very
time to eat.
My last batch, I think, turned out a little bit better. I think tasting it now, I could have a little more salt filling.
I see.
But I do think it split on me just slightly.
Bummer.
Yeah. I may have to revive my title for this from kick-ass mac and cheese to something else.
Tricky ass mac and cheese.
Make it sound like it's so easy. And I will also have to try doing it with a whisk.
Yeah. That's really good. Okay. Chewing. Let us know what you think if you make it. Do you use an immersion blender? Do you use a whisk? How does it turn out? What do you think about cheese types and all that stuff? We love to hear it.
And thank you for joining us for another lovely episode of High Gluttony. And we have a website. Most places do these days, but we have a website.
We have information on the World Wide Web.
On the World Wide Web. Instagram, Facebook. You can email us at highgluttony@highgluttony.com. And that's all I can think of for right now.
Yeah. Enjoy this mac and cheese right in time for the winter solstice.
Yeah.
Yeah, enjoy. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for joining us. Bye.
Bye.